Take two. Sorry about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mondays Down South. Very excited, as always, to record an episode, but more excited than ever this week because March Madness is officially back after 2 years. Best time of the year. It doesn't matter how much college basketball you watch, how little basketball you watch. You can get everybody and their mothers quite literally filling out brackets and get excited for this week. And I'm just ready for that excitement again. Last year, it was like the biggest, like it felt like a snub to not have March Madness after all the anticipation. So I think people are going to be even more excited. And regardless of how many fans are in the stand, I'm just ready to kick it off this week. With that being said, I don't want to waste time, guys. I know we're going to be pretty packed episode going through a bracket. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to start with Zach and Evan breaking down their methodology for a statistical approach to filling out brackets. And then we're going to jump into a bracket, and their statistics are probably not going to mean anything. So we'll see what happens. But with that being said, go ahead, Evan and Zach. Tee us off. I'll just be over here drinking my water.
Ev, ladies first. Kick us off, buddy.
I appreciate that, Zach. But yeah, man, I'm surprised how excited I am for March Madness because, I have to admit, and one of the caveats I wanted to make is, this might be one of our least technical episodes, at least from my standpoint. I'm not having watched much basketball this year. But I'm pumped for this. But yeah, so I've been the last 5 years or so, I've been doing a formula algorithm based bracket where I don't make any picks off my own brain. So I developed this, a few years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. It does not work, for the record. I'm always at the bottom. It's a nightmare, to be honest with you. It usually does well in the first round, not so much in the later rounds, but I just like that it takes bias out of my picks and it just gives me something to root for. But basically how mine works is, and I realized looking back that I did it again this year because I haven't really improved it over the years just for not having much time to do it, is that it's a heck of a lot more simple than I originally thought back when I was in, I don't know, what were we like, maybe early college or something when I came up with it. But anyway, it basically just takes 15 main stat categories, everything from some of the Ken Pom stuff like adjusted offense, adjusted defense, everything through field goal percentages, rebounding, assist turnovers, defensive stats as well. Basically just ranks all the teams. So it's ranking based, and takes your average ranking and compares the two average rankings of the two teams. And then for the seeds, basically you have to make up the ranking difference. This is kind of a tweak I did this year. In your average ranking. So say if it's a 116, then the 16 would have to be in 30 ranking points in terms of their average higher than the one seed to pull that off. So it kind of gives a buffer to eliminate some of the craziness basically, and some of the fluky stuff. So, to pull an upset, you actually have to, kind of have a little bit of a margin of error there that you have to beat to go that route. So really that's it. Just kind of comparing some simple stats and some rankings. Like I said, it never works, but for some reason I just can't help but be addicted to this way of doing it. And I've always meant to make some improvements, but time is thin.
That's an interesting approach. I mean, obviously this isn't my first cracks at this. I did say on a previous podcast that I was coming after you. I was coming after the Evmar rankings with apparently the Zabok rankings, whatever you had described in the group me a little bit earlier. But the way mine works is it's seven different categories: strength of schedule, and then adjusted offense, adjusted defense, offensive rebound percentage, shooting percentage, and then there's one or two other ones. I think another one is turnover margin. But what I did differently is instead of me calculating the standard deviation, finding the mean for all 64 of the teams, and then calculating some type of mechanism to be able to pull all of them together, I just straight up ranked each team 1 to 64, and then I distributed the weight differently amongst the different categories. So for specifically with strength of schedule, that's obviously weighted very heavily because there are teams that, don't necessarily win by a large margin or dominate other teams, but it's because they're playing intense competition. So I thought that was important to weight that a little bit more heavily than some of the other ones. But one that I didn't weight very heavily at all was shooting percentage because, I'm ranking teams 1 to 64. However, most of these teams, they're good enough to be shooting in 45+%. So the difference between the one in like, and oftentimes like the 50 to 64 teams were like 3 or 4 percentage points. You know, like Gonzaga was shooting like 49% from the field, but Mount St. Mary's, which is ranked maybe 62, 63, is shooting 44%. So obviously I weighted that a lot less. So it was pretty interesting. And then I essentially it's the weights versus the rankings multiplied amongst all categories. And then you get a certain value. And then that value is matched up against your opponents just for the first round, simply because there's no calculation for momentum. So you can only really calculate the first round before, it's just a total wash after that. So that was kind of the way I did it. But yeah, it was an interesting exercise, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of my results a little bit later.
I like the strength of schedule because we'll find out. I don't want to get too in the weeds on it, but because my thing tends to kind of favor some of the like more mid-major schools, which I like because I like to root for them. But that maybe is one of its downfalls, just because they play weaker competition, so their stats are boosted. But yeah, Sai, thoughts?
I'm talking on mute. I'm just saying I'm ready to roll into it because you guys got your stats and I got my methodology of let me read up on teams 2 days before the tournament starts and then start making picks and see what happens. So that's where I'm at this year. And I will say this year is a unique case because I think in most years with bracketology, and I'm not the only one who does this, but there's a lot of people that follow kind of loosely during the year, assuming they don't have a team that they're very strongly committed to, like, assuming they don't already have a team that's really good that they follow. But at least the month before brackets start, you delve into it more and you start watching more games and getting into it. This year's been such a unique situation with all the COVID protocols and a lot of teams not having certain players. And of course, a lot of teams that are usually at the top of the list not being in the bracket. Like we have to talk about the fact that Duke, Kentucky, several other teams that you're just so used to seeing as, 1, 2, 3 seeds every single year, just not being in the bracket. It created a really interesting situation. And that's what's going to make this bracket so unique, because you have Power 5, like strong teams as like, or what you would normally consider to be like some of the strongest teams as 10 to 12 seeds. Whereas you have teams that you would normally never expect to be 1 to 3 seeds at the top. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. And I'm just ready to jump into it because it's going to be a fun, it's going to be even crazier than a usual March Madness, given the situation, and the lack of fans will create a weird environment for teams to play in versus like the adrenaline that you usually get from it. So I'm really excited. I think we could talk about methodology all day. I'm excited to see how y'all's rankings work out based on the way you weighted it versus like me just picking literally based off a couple days of research from what I've seen, plus a few games I've watched here and there. So let's see what happens. It's going to be 3 completely different approaches and 3 probably very wrong approaches. let's get the ball rolling, guys.
Let's go ahead.
You want to pull it up?
Yes, sir.
And I guess what we should do while you pull that up is because Zach, you've organized a bracket, but we should organize another one just in case any of the viewers just want to follow along, put their brackets in there. Or I can maybe do that. Obviously, you have the one with the entry fee in it, but we can set up just a free one as well for anyone that wants to follow along with our individual brackets, as well as the one we're making now, which will be a MDS conglomerate bracket.
So put the Mondays down south bracket.
We will.
Big bracket. Yeah. That's a great.
As well as our individual ones. Yeah.
Let's do it.
So we'll do that.
All right, guys, kicking it off. I will lead the West Division. I'll kick the South Division over to Sai. We can just continue to host the different ones. But for the West Division, I guess blink once if you think Gonzaga is going to win. I can't see Norfolk State or Appalachian State even coming close to defeating the undefeated Gonzaga. So I've got the Zags here. Speak now or forever hold your peace. But
yeah, let's not waste time. Let's not waste time on this one. Zags roll.
All right, the 8 and 9 seed Oklahoma and Missouri. Who you got?
I've got Oklahoma in this one.
Sai?
Yeah, I'm taking Oklahoma as well. They just have more playmakers from what I'm understanding. So I'm going Oklahoma here.
I think so too. I'm going to go Oklahoma as well, all 3. Sai, kicking it over to you here. Creighton and UC Santa Barbara.
Creighton just got absolutely smoked by Georgetown. Like, I think, if I remember correctly, I think they lost by like 30 points or something of that nature. So that's not too good of a look. And I'm also hearing a lot of really good things about UC Santa Barbara, and apparently they got one guy that's really, really solid. So I'm going to go with the 12 seed here, the 12-5 classic upset, UC Santa Barbara.
This is a tough one. My data originally actually picked UCSB before I added in that like seeding kind of margin of error factor, and then it flipped it to Creighton. So I'll go Creighton, but I think this is a good upset opportunity.
I'm going to go Creighton as well, but in my bracket, or in my methodology, this was a very close highlighted potential upset based on the deviation factor. But I will go Creighton here just for simplicity's sake. Okay, kicking it over to E here on this one, Ohio and Virginia.
So one piece of my methodology that I think is completely flawed is that I tend to favor the slower pace teams because I like the adjusted tempo on KenPom, which I think is another problem. So UVA always does well. The interesting thing about this, though, is UVA might not be able to play. Their entire team is in contact tracing for COVID, so they won't know until I think Friday if they can even play for a Saturday tip. And if they don't, Louisville gets in as the last team out and gets to play Ohio. So that would be interesting. But
Zach,
I got
go
UVA.
ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Zach. You pick next.
I'm actually leaning Ohio here. The analytics behind my methodology show that Ohio is actually they're the better team in this particular instance. And I don't think this is a great UVA team, especially in comparison to previous years. I know they were the previous champ with no March Madness tournament commencing last year, but I think Ohio is coming to play, and I just think UVA, they get into sputtery moments of no offense.
So apparently not even apparently, just from everything I've watched and seen, one of the best players in the entire tournament is on Ohio, and Jason Preston. He just this young kid that's been apparently unbelievable, has gone through a lot of adversity and like grew 4 inches in college. And he's apparently like a big guy, like big scout that people are looking at the NBA as somebody who could really, really turn up. Apparently he's like the LaMelo Ball of college basketball. So he has what it takes to upset UVA. However, if they're completely healthy, they are the defending national champions, and it's really hard for me to bet against Tony Bennett's defense because they just always play solid basketball. So I'm going to pick UVA, but I'm hoping they're completely healthy. I lean the Who's here, but Jason Preston, somebody to watch in the tournament, guys.
Sounds good. Moving on to the next game, Wichita State or Drake. Drake was a 26-4 team, I believe, going against USC. I can kick this one off. I really love the 6-11 upsets, and we haven't had an upset yet. However, USC is actually very good. I'm going to lean the Trojans in this one, but I defer to Evan here on the next.
So this one depends on who actually wins that play-in game. I think my data has Drake winning the play-in game, which my mind agrees with because Drake is actually good. And if they do, I have them beating USC. But if Wichita wins the play-in game, I have USC beating Wichita. So, but I have Drake.
USC is the longest team in this tournament, so I'm going USC just purely based off rim protection.
Cool. All right, moving on to the next tier. Sock, kicking it over to you. Kansas, Eastern Washington. I'm not sure if we have to talk about this one a whole lot.
Kansas. Bill Self's my boy. Kansas.
Yep.
Kansas
as well. And then E. This one is interesting. VCU, Oregon. Who you got?
I don't agree. I like Oregon pretty. Without a ton of concern.
VCU is still running that Shaka defense, which is pretty hard to match up with if you're not used to it. But it's gonna be hard for me to pick against Oregon because they're just filled with athletes. So I'm going Oregon here.
I'm going Oregon as well. And then finally, Iowa, Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon has been interesting. However, they play literally no competition, and Iowa is ranked 3 or 4 on the strength of schedule list. So I've got Iowa. I'm assuming you guys have the same.
Yep.
I am going Iowa, but I'm hearing that this is one to like really watch because apparently, apparently, if there's ever a time for 15-2 make some money, apparently Grand Canyon's got what it takes. So I'm really curious to see what happens here. But Iowa,
cool, sounds good. I say we pick our final 4 in each bracket, and then we move on to the next, and then we can get the 4 teams finally to merge. Or do you guys want to just take it round by round?
I say we do round by round. Personally, I think it'd be fun to run through the round by round.
I like the round by round.
All right, so I'm kicking it over to you here for the South.
You want me to take the South? All right, let's start with Hartford versus Baylor, and we're gonna make sure we talk through the names so that way the listeners that are using Spotify as opposed to watching or paying attention. So Hartford versus Baylor. This one's easy for me. I'm going Baylor. I'm not gonna waste time with this. You guys got any 16-1? Okay, let's move on. UNC versus Wisconsin. The Tar Heels versus Wisconsin. Both of these teams are generally teams that come in as top 3 to 4 seeds. This year, we're looking at an 8-9 matchup between UNC, which is the 8 versus Wisconsin, the 9. Zach, I'll kick it over to you as the old Duke fan of yours.
Yeah, UNC and UNC specifically because of the amount of offensive rebounds they get each game. They do struggle from the shooting department, but they play so big inside. I've got to go UNC here. E, what about you?
Yeah, I have Wisconsin here, but some of the light research I did makes me not very confident in that. But I do have Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Tar Heels here. I'm rolling with the Roy Williams week 1. They'll coach them up. We're looking at Winthrop versus Villanova. This is an interesting one, guys. I'm intrigued by this. Villanova. I will tee this up by saying Villanova is apparently going to. There's a very likely they're going to be missing one of their best playmakers. So that's one thing to consider in this matchup. And also, Winthrop has lost 1 game this season. Admittedly, maybe not with the same strength of schedule as a lot of these other teams, but that's something to point to. So what do you guys got with this one?
This is the hot upset pick in the 12-5 category from what I'm hearing. So I'm picking Villanova.
What? I'm
Bucking
going
the trend.
I love Colin Gillespie's. His leadership is great on Villanova. However, Winthrop is talented. They've lost 1 game. They don't know what losing is, and this is just not a great Villanova team in comparison to into prior years. So I've got Winthrop. Sai, you will be the difference maker here.
Yeah, I'm surprised Villanova's a 5 this year. Like, I actually am very surprised by that. I thought they'd be a lower seed. So I'm leaning Winthrop just because if Villanova's losing one of their major playmakers, even if they had him, I think Winthrop could win this game based off everything I've read and analyzed. So I'm going to go with Winthrop in this one. Okay, next up, we got North Texas versus Purdue. Purdue, the 4 seed, North Texas, the 13. Any backlash here against Purdue? Because I'm going Purdue all the way here for me.
Yep, it's Purdue for me.
All righty, cool. Kicking it back down to the 11-6 matchup. This should be interesting. Texas Tech versus Utah State. I'm hearing some chatter about Utah State here, guys. I don't know what y'all think here. I'm gonna let you guys start this one off.
The numbers agree with your. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll go first. Utah State is really, really good in causing turnovers, block shots. They're a good defensive team. Texas Tech is a better defensive team, and they have that Matt McClung kid, the kid from Georgetown, who's just tearing it up offensively. This is not a great Texas Tech team, the same team that played in the championship 2 years prior. However, they are very good for a 6 seed, so I'm leaning TTU.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Texas Tech just because of coaching, and like Texas Tech has been in the tournament and it's done very well. The last time we had a tournament, the Texas Tech went really far, if I remember correctly. So I'm gonna go Texas Tech just based off that one fact. Next up, oh sorry, Adam, I thought you picked my fault.
It doesn't. I was saying Utah State, but it doesn't matter.
But fair enough. I thought you already picked. That's my fault. We got the 14 toothpaste Colgate over here versus number 3, Arkansas, SEC representation coming in. This should be an interesting matchup. I'm hearing Colgate's pretty good, but they haven't played a lot of games because they came in top 10 in the I wanted to say Evmar, but the KenPom like efficiency rankings, which is funny, but they've only played like I think 14 games. So what do you guys think with this one? I'll start with Ev on this one.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a light 'em up shootout game, but Arkansas for sure. I like Arkansas a lot.
I actually don't like Arkansas very much. I'm intrigued by their record, 22-6. I actually have Colgate here. Outside of obviously strength of schedule, they're top 10, top 15 out of the 64 teams in pretty much every other category that I had pulled from. So I'm going to go Colgate, and they score the basketball to F's point, so it'll be interesting. Toss up for Cy here.
All bias aside, it just seems like SEC basketball has really been on the up and up over the last couple of years, especially with some of the other conferences not playing as well recently. So with that being said, Arkansas, I think Zach knew where I was going with that. So, oh, here we go. The big gun for Mr. Zach McCulloch, the first game of the tournament outside of the playing games, or Friday morning, we're going to be starting off probably pretty hungover with Virginia Tech versus Florida against our boy Patrick Barnett. This should be a fun one between a groom and one of his groomsmen. So this will be a fun one. So we're gonna tee this up. Virginia Tech number 10, Florida number 7. We can spend a little bit of time on this one. Zach, give us your analysis, baby. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I immediately texted Pat. I said, it's on, and he's like, I'm throwing some money on Florida. I said, I'm throwing money against Virginia Tech. So we're in the same ballpark. But I was running my rankings, and for some random reason, Florida was just kicking Virginia Tech's ass in every different statistic. So, obviously I almost manually tweaked my own formulas just like for my own bias to get it closer and closer. So the math yields Florida, but I'm going to go with my Hokies just because the Hokies were for the majority of the season ranked 6 or 7 in the tournament per Joe Lenardi. So they did slip to 10. I think they're a good team, and I think Florida has some problems scoring the basketball. That's something Virginia Tech will not have to worry about. So I've got VT, but I'll defer to both of y'all.
Go ahead, Ev.
I think both of these teams are maybe slightly misseeded, and that Tech could maybe be a seed higher, and then Florida could maybe be a seed lower. I've got the Hokies, and nothing better than starting off your bracket with an upset. Man, that would be sweet. A small upset, but man, that would be nice. So
we're going hat trick here because I got Virginia Tech over Florida. From everything I'm understanding, Florida is actually apparently one of the more overrated teams in terms of rankings this year. From everything that I've seen and read and saw, so. Apparently, some of the other SEC teams that were ranked lower should have been higher compared to Florida, from what people are saying. I think the name brand sometimes will pay dividends when it comes to these rankings. So I'm going Virginia Tech. They got some playmakers from what I've seen. So let's go VA Tech. Let's do it. Kicking it down to number 2 Ohio State versus number 15 Oral Roberts. Ohio State Buckeyes. This one's easy for me.
Yeah, Buckeyes all the way.
Alrighty, sweet. East.
Am I driving? What are we doing? East?
Yep. Doing the East.
All right, 116. We got Michigan playing the winner of Mount St. Mary's, Texas Southern. Although, see, the big thing about Michigan, though, is Livers, best player, will definitely be out the first weekend, if not the whole tournament. So, not that anyone's going to pick him anyway, I don't think, but.
No, that is crucial news because as you saw, they lost to OSU in the Big Ten tournament, and Michigan for the longest time was known for being the dominant force in the Big Ten, and they're arguably now the 3rd or 4th best team in that division. So it could be crucial, but maybe more down the road. I got Michigan.
Yeah, I'm going Hugh Jackman's Wolverines over here, so let's roll with it.
I love it. All right, 8-9. LSU is the 8. St. Bonaventure is the 9. Cy, let's get it going.
Staying with my wild animal theme, I'm going to go with the Tigers, LSU.
I'm going St. Bonaventure's. I'm excited about this team. And I think the only reason they're in is because they just won the division championship, whatever conference they're in. But I'm going St. Bonaventure's.
I have the Bonnies as well, but the buzz I'm hearing on LSU is pretty strong. So I'm not too confident in that one. But, trust the algorithm. Moving down to the 5-12. Interesting matchup. Georgetown coming off the conference championship, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of how they got into this spot, but is the 12 seed facing the 5 seed Colorado. I can kick this one off. I've got Colorado here to hold serve as the high seed.
Go ahead, Zach.
I've got Georgetown, man. Didn't they just sweep the rug with Creighton a couple days ago? And I know they're a 500 team outside of like the last 4 or 5 games they've played. They've just gone on a rampage, and I think that continues. I don't think Colorado's that good. I think Georgetown is a prime opportunity here.
I've actually heard Colorado is like a real prime sleeper. I've been really torn with this one because I was watching the game with Georgetown the other night, and I was like, dude, they're winning by like 30. They're steamrolling them. Their perimeter, or sorry, not their perimeter, their rim defense is ridiculous. Like, they got rim protectors. They got this massive size. People struggle. I've been so torn on this one. I'm leaning Hoyas. I'm going to go Georgetown. But, man, Colorado could make some noise this tournament from everything I've read. So we could all be looking silly after that one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. 4-13, we got Florida State, the 4 seed, UNC Greensboro is the 13. Zach, what do you got?
Get out of here, Greensboro. FSU all the way.
Cy?
Yeah, I'm going good old Spartans, FSU. Not Spartans.
I've heard UNC Greensboro has a pretty good team, but this is a tough draw for them, so I'm going to go Florida State for sure. 6-11, we got another play-in game here. The play-in game is a pretty big one. Michigan State and UCLA fighting for an 11 seed for the right to play BYU, the 6 seed. I can start this one off. I have UCLA in the play-in game, but I'm hearing the buzz is the other way. And I have BYU beating either of them.
Go ahead, Zach.
I've got BYU as well. Michigan State is interesting here. I think the best opportunity to beat BYU, but BYU did keep it close with Gonzaga just a couple of days ago. It's hard to look at a team that gets that close to Gonzaga and not pick them in the first round. I got BYU as well.
Okay, regardless of who I pick, I just want to. I mean, it doesn't matter who I pick at this point, right? You guys know I'm a sucker for Michigan State. First and foremost, it's absolutely ridiculous that Michigan State has to play a play-in game and a team like Syracuse got in. Like, I understand earlier in the season they were struggling, but if you look at their quad one wins, they've beaten Michigan, they've beaten Iowa, and they've beaten Ohio State in their last 7 games. So they've beaten 3 of the top 8 teams in college basketball and 2 number 1 seeds and a 2 seed in their matchups, and they're doing a play-in game when Syracuse has beaten absolutely nobody and has like a similar record and gets to play. Like, I'm so sick and tired of Syracuse just getting the nod for no reason. And I mean, granted, last time it happened, they made the Final Four, but still, it's ridiculous. Michigan State shouldn't even have to play a play-in game. And if they beat UCLA, which I expect them to, I'm all in on Michigan State beating BYU. 100%, I'm all in on. Like, they are steamrolling at the right time. They're looking real good. Ever since Izzo went small ball, that team has won 5 of 7 and beaten 3 of the top teams in college basketball. So keep that in mind, friends. Michigan State for me.
Well, to no avail, Cy. Moving down to the 314, Texas and Abilene Christian. I've got Texas. Does anyone oppose?
I do not.
This is the biggest upset that was calculated in my methodology. Abilene Christian plays like a Georgia Tech. They're quick. They generate turnovers out the wazoo. They're actually in my bracket, or in my Excel algorithms, favored to beat Texas by a slim margin. And it does make sense because for a team that plays as scrappy and just they dig down in late stretches and they generate turnovers, when Texas can't shoot the ball from the outside. Now, Texas has 3 amazing guards on the outside, and they're all great drivers to the hoop. And they do have that one big guy's name's escaping me, but he's a phenomenal athlete. He's going to be a top 5, top 10 pick in the NFL or the NBA draft. But I've got Abilene Christian here. I think this could be the first major upset that we see in March Madness this year.
I will say my numbers, actually, the original calculation did pick Abilene Christian, which was one of the main reasons that I had to build in some kind of a margin of error type thing. Well, we'll see. I do hear good buzz on Abilene Christian, but I don't think it's going to be enough. But
notice how Zach moves away from Austin, and now he's picking Texas to get upset as a 3 seed. That seems way too opportune. I'm 100% rolling with the Longhorns. They're actually one of the favorites in this bracket to come out in the Final Four, actually. So I'm intrigued by that selection by Zach. So we'll move on. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there.
7-10, we got the 7 seed UConn facing the 10 seed Maryland. Pretty interesting little matchup here. Cy, you want to start it off?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go Maryland here. The Terps have been looking good recently. They just had a big win actually against Michigan State in the tournament they just played. So I'm picking the Terps. They've been looking a little bit better recently.
Yeah, both teams are overrated. I got Maryland as well with Zach.
I disagree that both teams are overrated. I'm very bullish on UConn, so I guess it doesn't matter. But I do have UConn, not only in this one, but we'll see down the road. 215, Alabama Iona. Pitino's the coach of Iona, so that's interesting. But I don't think it's going to matter. Do you guys?
Bama could not easily, but Bama could steamroll their way into the Final Four. That's how good they are this year in the sense of their defensive prowess along with their playmaking on offense. This is Bama for me, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I've got Louisville replacing UVA, Iona and Louisville meeting in the semifinals. No, I'm just kidding. I got Bama, but that would be a great storyline.
Same.
All right, I can take the Midwest here, and then we can reset for our second round. Real quick, I've got Illinois, Drexel. You guys feel similar? Okay, good.
Illinois.
This is a very interesting matchup to me. Georgia Tech coming off an ACC championship win versus Loyola Chicago, a team that's 24-4 and just can score from every angle. I'll start with you. Who you got?
Loyola Chicago is legit. They are the mid-major KenPom darling this year, so they get this one done.
Yeah, I'm taking another Illinois team to win on that side. Let's go Loyola Chicago.
I love Georgia Tech, but I've got Loyola as well. I think both of these teams are really good. Moving on to the next one, Oregon State, didn't they make some buzz in the Pac-12 tournament that they either won or got close, but they're playing Tennessee? Cy, I'll kick this one over to you.
This is actually going to be the only 5 seed I pick. I'm taking Tennessee.
I like Tennessee a lot. Same.
Me too. 3 for Tennessee. Liberty and Oklahoma, 2 really hot teams. Liberty plays like UVA. They slow the pace down. I'm sure they did really well in the EVMAR rankings. So, Ev, I'll start with you. Who you got in this one?
You are correct. I do have Liberty here. I would imagine maybe the pace of play is one. I really want to override it just because I think Oklahoma State's really good. From what I hear, they are a little misseeded there. They should be a little higher, but I do have Liberty.
Liberty makes the tournament and then they make noise. That's basically their MO. Oklahoma State, from my understanding, is a little bit overrated from what I'm seeing. And I'm going Liberty, man. Go make some noise, Liberty.
I've got Liberty too. I'm torn because even on a bad shooting night, still the best player in NCAA. But man, let's go 3 Liberty, 0 Oklahoma.
What State. In the world? I don't know about that, gentlemen.
All right, the next one here, Syracuse versus San Diego State. And maybe I'll start this one off here on this time. I like San Diego State here. Syracuse is good. They've had some problems scoring the basketball, and they just have played so inconsistent. That 2-3 zone is legit. I'm not denying that. But San Diego State, man, they play some good ball out west.
San Diego State as well.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm going San Diego State as well. I don't even think Syracuse should be 11. So.
Morehead State, West Virginia. I'm going Dub V. You guys agree?
Yeah. Dub V's not that good though.
Clemson.
They're overrated here.
Who you guys got?
I have Clemson, but the buzz I hear is Rutgers.
I'm taking Rutgers.
I'm taking Clemson. I don't buy this Rutgers type. I think people are it's a bunch of Jersey people that are now really excited that Rutgers is making buzz for the first time in 7 years. So I'm gonna go Clemson here. And then just to cap it off, we got Cleveland State and Houston. You got Houston?
Yeah, Houston.
Ty?
Houston. Also, real quick, I messed up. I meant to say Oklahoma State was lower seeded than they were anticipated. People were saying it's absurd that Illinois got the 1 seed and somehow Oklahoma State was a 4 when Oklahoma State could have easily been a 2 or 3 seed. People are saying they beat WU twice in like the last couple of weeks. Why is it a W is a 3 and Oklahoma State is a 4? So that makes all 3 of us picking Liberty even wilder.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I heard they're actually like really, really good and should be higher than a 4. So that's why I'm not feeling too good about Liberty. I mean, I like Liberty, but I'm not feeling too good about that upset.
Tough matchup.
Lead us off on the West here.
Okay.
Keep plugging through.
We're talking Gonzaga, Oklahoma first, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do it. Gonzaga versus Oklahoma, 1-8 matchup. I'm taking the Zags to stay undefeated and beat Oklahoma. That one's actually not even like. I know a lot of people are saying Oklahoma is really good, but like I don't see them giving Gonzaga an issue right now. They're just too good.
Yeah, Gonzaga for me too.
Yeah, Oklahoma's a bit too streaky. Gonzaga is consistent. They've got some of the best guards in the country. I got the Zags as well.
This is a tough one, guys. So we got number 5 Creighton versus number 4 UVA, but this very easily could be number 13 Ohio versus number 12 UCSB just based off the way the seeding worked out. So this is a really tough one. I'll start this one off actually just based off the fact that we have Creighton and Virginia there. I'm taking Virginia because I just don't have that faith in Creighton to make the Elite Eight. The Sweet 16. But at the same time, like I don't know if either of these teams are going to make it. So I'll take Virginia. What do you guys got?
I've got Creighton. You're the deal breaker here.
Yeah, I've got Virginia as well. Obviously, that's way up in the air with how their contact tracing and whatnot, and some of the stuff I mentioned shakes out. But just given the information we have now, I've got to go Virginia.
I'm going number 6 USC versus number 3 Kansas. This is an upset alert. A lot of people really like USC this year with their size to give Kansas a lot of problems. I'll let you guys make your pick first, and I'll come back to mine.
Yeah. Kansas has struggled this year. I mean, this is the first year in a while they haven't won the Big 12. They hit some serious roadblocks and droughts throughout this season. I've got USC. I really like their size to size point. I'll kick it over to E and see what we got going.
I actually have neither of these teams. I have Drake getting to this game and winning. Given the circumstances, I will pick USC because Kansas just isn't good this year.
Yeah.
Period. I've actually seen a couple of their games too, to be fair, unlike most of these teams. But
I actually lean Kansas here. I think a lot of people are going to pick against Kansas as a 3 seed from given the fact they didn't win the Big 12. But I don't know, coaching plays, and I think Kansas has been much better later on in the season than they were early, and they're a 3 seed for a reason. They might have gotten overseeded a little bit, but there's a reason they're not a lower seed compared to some of these other teams. I think Kansas is good. I'm gonna pick Kansas there. Not that it matters. We're going USC, but just my opinion. Number 7, Oregon. Number 2, Iowa. What you guys got there?
Iowa.
Them Hawkeyes.
All right. So I guess it's me moving over to the South. 1-8 matchup, Baylor against a North Carolina. Zach, start us off.
I've got Chapel Hill here beating the first 1 seed goes down at this point in time. And the reason, it just goes right back to the offensive rebound percentage. Baylor is a small team. Now, they have phenomenal guards. Not arguing that, some of the best in the country. But if one or both of them is not shooting well, North Carolina is going to get a majority of their points inside the paint. And I don't think Baylor is going to stop them, especially from the offensive rebounding side. So I think this is a really bad matchup for Baylor. I'm going to go UNC here.
Sai?
I'm going to go, oh man, dude, that's it's so hard to pick against Baylor because they've been so good all season.
They are so good.
I love Roy Williams, but I'm like, am I crazy enough to pick UNC, who's been so inconsistent all season? And probably a lot of people would argue shouldn't even be an 8 seed because of the fact that that they struggled so much. That is so difficult, man. I'm struggling here.
You are the tiebreaker, by the way. I've got Baylor.
I'm going Tar Heels. I'm doing it.
Let's go,
Zach. We're gonna
That's a major yikes.
We're gonna regret this. When Baylor's in the national championship game and we're sitting there going, damn, we picked them to lose in the 32. We're gonna really regret this. But whatever. Let's go UNC. Let's have some.
I actually don't. I don't hate that. Like, because there's always one of the top 2 seeds that is out before the first weekend. I mean, lately there's been more than one, so it's got to be someone. This isn't the one I have pegged, but I mean. You know.
It's tough, man.
Oh, so it's on the 4 seed Purdue, 12 seed Winthrop. I've got Purdue.
Oh, I've got Winthrop, man. I don't think Purdue is very, very good, but I'll give you guys that one.
I could see Winthrop pulling it off, but Purdue's just so consistent, man. They're just one of those teams that every single game they're going to be consistent. So that's why I like Purdue.
Moving down the bracket, we got a 3 seed Arkansas, 6 seed Texas Tech. Sai?
Man, I'm going Arkansas. Here.
I'm going Texas Tech. You're the tiebreak here.
No, I actually have Utah State in this game, but Arkansas winning.
Gotcha.
Last game in this region for this round, Zach's Hokies playing the Buckeyes. I've got Ohio State. You guys?
Ohio State, easy for me.
VT.
Of course he does.
I think VT matches up with this 2 seed better than any of the other 2 seeds because OSU is a bit undersized. But we're gonna go Ohio State here.
Ohio State is so good this season. They you could argue they're the best 2 seeds in this tournament. They're so good. I'm going Ohio State.
All right, cool. I'll take the East and the Midwest here. Kicking it off first, Michigan and St. Bonaventure. I've got Michigan. You guys got Michigan as well?
Yeah.
I don't see the threat there.
Georgetown,
actually,
Florida State. Oh, yeah. What's up, Si?
Can I say something real quick? So I thought to myself, if Michigan plays LSU just based off LSU being underseeded, people said with the SEC, they're saying LSU should have been seeded higher and Florida should be seeded lower based off the conference play and what happened because LSU has some playmakers. If Michigan is losing their main guy and they play LSU, I could see LSU winning that game just from the fact that Michigan has lost a couple games even with their best guy recently. And without him, they're going to have to lean heavily. So I could see LSU winning that one, but because of our current situation, I'll go Michigan. I wanted to caveat that.
I've heard that as well. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Georgetown, Florida State, E.
So I actually have Colorado coming out of this game, but given the current situation, I'll go Florida State.
Yeah, I'm going to go Florida State.
I've got Florida State too, just way too much size for Georgetown, way too much size. Si, kicking this one over to you, BYU and Texas.
I have Michigan State over Texas, so that's what I'm rolling with. No, I mean that's actually what I have in my bracket, but I'm gonna go Texas.
All right.
Oh. Just because I have to pick between BYU and Texas.
Yeah, I have BYU here.
Okay. Oh, I mean, if I have Abilene Christian beating Texas, I do think in terms of BYU and Texas playing each other, I think Texas's guard play is real good. So I'm going to lean Texas here, given the current situation.
So I just love how you have Abilene Christian beating Texas, but you don't have BYU beating Texas.
I like
you have BYU, but you have BYU beating Michigan State.
Well, so I like the Abilene Christian small town Texas school being able to take down or have the opportunity to take down the big Texas conglomerate. I think there's more of an energy. I mean, Abilene Christian never goes there, so they're going to give it all. Whereas BYU, I don't think their guards match up well to Texas's guards. I think Abilene Christian generates a lot of turnovers that could cause Texas. I think it's just a matchup issue. But I do have Texas here.
You are going to have quite the bracket, my guy. I'm just going to say.
All right, Maryland, Alabama. I'll take this one. I'm going to go Bama here. You guys feel the same way?
Roll Tide, and then even close for me.
I have UConn winning this game, actually. UConn is my my big kind of second round upset. But given the circumstances, yeah, Bama.
Yeah, the number of people that have Alabama in their Final Four, I've having them losing the round of 32. That's some boldness from the Admar rankings.
It could be huge for him if it ends up turning out. You're gonna get rid of like 50% of the brackets if that happens. But kicking it over to the Midwest side, you have to tackle this big one here: Illinois, Loyola, Chicago. Who you got in this one?
I am taking an Illinois team in this one, and I'm taking Illinois.
Darn.
Uh-oh, that's dangerous look over there.
There's no way we're about to lose 2 1 seeds in the round of 32, are we, guys?
The data shows Illinois, Chicago, so I will go with Loyola here. But when I submit my final bracket by Friday morning, I suspect I will have overridden and changed it. But
yeah, that could be the case for me too.
Right now, Loyola, they're like top 10 in KenPom overall. They're legit.
Here's my thing. If Loyola Chicago was the 8 seed coming out of Michigan's bracket, I would actually pick them to defeat Michigan. I really do think they're that good. The problem is they have a bunch of great guards and their outside shooting is outstanding. What they can't do is cover, what's the guy's name? Cockburn or something from Illinois. The guy is a phenom down low. So I've got Illinois. I want to pick Loyola. It's just not a good matchup for him. So I'm going the Fighting Illini here, and we'll move on to Liberty in Tennessee. E, we'll kick this one over to you first.
Tennessee.
Yeah, Vols for me. I'm going Volunteers.
I'll go Vols as well. San Diego State and West Virginia. Cy, over to you.
It's a tough one because it seems like West Virginia is overseeded. But I'm also not that big on San Diego State, and they could lose to Syracuse in the first round. Oh man, that's a tough one. I'm going West Virginia. I'm going West Virginia here.
I've got the Aztecs. West Virginia is not good, I don't think.
West Virginia is tough though, man. They play that full press. It's just something I don't think San Diego State can take care of. I got West Virginia as well. I got to lean size direction. And then finally, Houston and Clemson. I am going to go lean the Cougars direction. They've been a top 10 team all year. They've got a lot of size, kind of like Florida State. So I'm going Houston.
Yeah, I'm going Houston. I just want to say I'm strongly regretting not giving Oklahoma State the nod in this bracket because they could be a Final Four team. We have them losing in the first round. Just because if you think about this bracket, we're looking at Illinois and Houston as the 1-2 seeds, and this is probably in my opinion, the weakest 1-2. I mean, given the fact, of course, Michigan's losing their best player, but if they have their best player, you could argue Illinois is the worst one, and you could argue Houston is the worst too. So this is like not really a super exciting side of the bracket. I hate that Syracuse, SDSU, Morehead State, West Virginia little conglomerate because none of those teams am I super excited about. So I'm going Houston, but man, I'm not excited about the Midwest at all.
That's my least favorite region. Just from it gave me a lot of chaos, and the numbers just couldn't seem to decide what they wanted to do. So I'm gonna have to do some work down there from an override perspective, I think.
Yeah.
Back over to you.
All righty, guys. We're going Gonzaga versus the defending national champions. Here's the other thing, guys, and I'm noticing that as we talk about this side, Kansas and Virginia are both under COVID protocols. So we're looking at two teams, the 3-4s, both potentially not even playing in this tournament. So it could be Gonzaga versus Virginia, or it could be Gonzaga versus whoever happens to be the play. And who knows? All I know is I'm picking Gonzaga, number 1 seed Gonzaga over number 4 Virginia.
Yeah, the data actually picked Virginia for me, but this is one I'm definitely going to override, mainly for the COVID stuff, but also just because I can't pick against Gonzaga here.
Yeah, I've got the Zags as well.
All righty, let's move on to USC versus Iowa. Number 6 USC versus number 2 Iowa. This is a tough one for me because I had Kansas in here, and if COVID protocols didn't happen, I'd pick Kansas over Iowa. But if this is going to be USC versus Iowa, I'm going Iowa. I hate to go 1-2. I know that's boring, but that's where I'm at because the Hawkeyes are good, man. I'm not picking against them here.
Same for me.
Yeah, Iowa as well. They're too good.
All right, jumping to the South. Oh my gosh, guys! We've got the 8 seed North Carolina against the 4 seed Purdue. Given the situation, I will take Purdue.
I can't believe it. Go ahead, Zach.
I got North Carolina.
I got North Carolina as well.
I mean, there's always one low seed, that finds their way into that vicinity. So I guess given the situation, I might actually even agree with you guys. I don't know.
Dude, they're playing so good right now.
Zach's best friend Muskan is about to be super happy with us right now, picking North Carolina into the Elite 8. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's keep it popping, guys.
Jumping down, I kind of like this matchup. It's 2-seeded Ohio State against the 3-seed Arkansas. I can start it off. I have Arkansas here. I like Arkansas.
I'm going OSU, man.
I've got OSU as well. Sorry, D.
That's a bummer. Oh, I guess for me, that's good.
All right, I'll take these the final 2 divisions here like last time. So we're looking at the number 1 seed Michigan versus the number 4 seed Florida State. I will kick this one off. I have Florida State winning. I don't think they have better shooters than Michigan, but they do have the size, and I am fearful of Michigan not getting their star player back. So I'm going to go FSU here.
I want to say the one thing we do have to account for with this MDS bracket is we're going to have a lot more information by tomorrow night / Thursday between the COVID teams, like knowing who's going to be able to play and who's not, and also based on the playing game. So that'll change some things. For right now, I'm going to go Michigan because their best player isn't said to have a stress fracture. He's said to have a stress reaction. So if he comes back, then I have Michigan winning this game. If he doesn't come back, I'm gonna go Florida State. But for now, I'm picking Michigan because I'm gonna hope that they can make it to Florida State and he'll come back because Michigan is so good, man. They're really good when they're healthy. So I'm going Michigan.
The issue to that point is though you won't have that information by the time you have to set the bracket.
No, for sure, and it's a risk. But we might know a little bit more over the next couple of days. So
it is a big risk. I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna kind of bank on Livers playing and go Michigan just because I really like them. But the other interesting thing is that with some of the sports books, apparently Michigan is the one that the sports books are like, really fearing if they win the national championship that they're going to lose a ton of money. Because I think, early season, no one really was on Michigan. There were some bets that came in like a long time ago even. So Michigan is the one that the sports books really don't want to hit.
And one other point I will make is Livers might be their best player, like especially as an interior guy, but they still have great players outside of they can win without him. There's confidence in that. They got a really good guard who can carry that team on the offensive front. So it's not they could beat Florida State without Livers. Like they're capable of that. There's a reason they're a 1 seed. It's not because of one player. So
and actually I have Colorado getting to this point anyway. So in that circumstance, I'm like, okay, they could definitely beat Colorado, I think, with without their guy. So
cool. All right, guys. UT, Alabama. I'll kick this one off first. Bama for me, given the current situation here.
Yeah, again, this is another one of my big upsets. I actually have UConn progressing through this game as well to face Michigan, but obviously I can't choose that here. So I'll take Texas just to knock off Alabama, similarly to my bracket.
I'm going Big Ten rivalry, Michigan State versus Michigan. That's actually what I'm doing in my bracket. But if I have to pick here, I'm going Bama.
Okay, we got Bama here. Moving over to the Midwest bracket, Illinois versus Tennessee. Ev, kick us off.
Well, for me, it's Loyola Chicago. But even if it was this situation, I like Tennessee a lot as a sleeper Final Four team.
I have Tennessee as well, Cy, so I'm going to have to give them the nod. Were you thinking Illinois?
I hate this so much, man. I hate this corner of the bracket so much because this very easily could be Oklahoma State and we have them losing the first round. If I had to pick between these two teams, I'd go Illinois, but it doesn't matter, right? So we're going Tennessee.
West Virginia and Houston. I'll kick this one off. I've got Houston. I think Houston is a damn good team. I've got them over West Virginia.
So do I.
Yeah, I got Houston here, but there's no way in my bracket Houston's going to be in my Final Four. So something's changing in mine. We'll have to see what happens.
Well, yeah, we can. Well, I was going to. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to the Final Four. But
all right, Kuna.
We got number 1 Gonzaga, number 2 Iowa. I'm just going to start this off. I got Gonzaga staying undefeated. The Zags in the Final Four for me.
So my thing pushed UVA through, which again I'll override. So I'll override the Gonzaga as well. Yeah, they're too good.
Yeah, I was entertaining the idea of picking Iowa. I think Iowa is the first tough matchup for Gonzaga that they play so far. They just match up stylistically really well to them. They got Luke Garza to counter some of the big guys that are killing it right now over in the state of Washington. But I'll go Gonzaga as well.
All right, what do we got? South, UNC, Ohio State. I could not be even more far off the teams that I had making it to this game. So I'll go Heels.
Zach, go ahead, bro.
I'll go Heels.
No way you're going here. I'm going Buckeyes here, bro. I got Ohio State coming out.
I like
Ohio State's good, guys.
I'm not an Ohio State fan. I've actually seen a couple of their games too. I think they're a good team, but I don't think they have like enough for a Final Four.
If Baylor loses, they have enough. They're not. I don't see them beating Baylor, but if they can get to a point where they're not playing Baylor, I could definitely see them winning. I think their big problem would be if they faced up against Baylor's size. Like I just don't know if they can handle that.
All right, guys. Michigan versus Alabama. I've got Bama here. Who do you guys have?
I have Michigan State here.
Okay.
Oh, you think I'm kidding?
No, you just do it every year. Michigan State's in your Final Four. That's a Cy Cunningham guarantee at this point.
100%, baby. Hey, the last time I picked Michigan State in the Final Four, they made the Final Four. That's all I got to say. They beat the Zion Williamson Duke squad. No, I mean, in all seriousness, I do have Michigan State here. But if I have to pick between these two teams, oh my gosh, man, there's so much hinging on if Michigan can get healthy because Bama's so good too. If I have to pick between these two, I'm going Alabama. Yeah, I'm going Alabama. But if Michigan's healthy, man, I would pick Michigan. That's a really tough one.
Everyone is obsessed with Alabama.
They're good, bro.
They are.
SEC regular champions
play much, so I don't know. But I'm just saying, everyone loves them.
SEC regular champions and the SEC conference champions, and they've been very consistent all season. And they have a great defense. Like they have so many things, and they have great 3-point shooters. They have everything you could want for a tournament to be successful. So it's not a crazy notion to think that they could make the Final Four. There's a lot of people that have them there, actually. Yeah.
All right, in Tennessee, Houston, E.
Yeah, so I do like Tennessee as a sleeper Final Four team, but I think this is almost like, and again, I am going off my model, but I'm picking Houston almost, again, going with the data, but also it kind of makes sense as a hedge where part of the reason I get to that point is from knocking off Illinois early, which is a huge risk. So Tennessee, could then get knocked off by Illinois, and then to push Tennessee too far is almost like too risky there. So I have Houston.
I hate this so much. Because Illinois is my least favorite number 1 seed out of the 4. Yet that's the one I want to pick in the Final Four because of the fact that there's just no teams that jump out to me like holistically in this conference that like, or on the Midwest that are like, oh, like they're definitely like, capable of making that run and beating Illinois. I don't know. But I'm going to pick Houston just based off the Tennessee-Houston matchup. I don't feel confident that Tennessee is going to be an Elite Eight team, much less a Final Four team. So I'm going Houston.
Yeah, I've got Houston too. I think Houston could very well come out of the Midwest bracket. I mean, if you look at the teams that they would have to face, Clemson wasn't even a very good ACC team, honestly.
They might even face Rutgers.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't beat Virginia Tech. They couldn't beat a lot of the mid-tier teams, the Georgia Techs, et cetera. They couldn't even beat Syracuse. So, and then West Virginia is an overrated 3 seed. I think Houston, it's a safe pick there. So I'm going to go Houston's direction as well. So bringing it over to the other side of the bracket, we've got Gonzaga and Alabama. Cy, this is going to be a tough one.
No, this one's easy for me. I'm going Gonzaga.
Same.
Yep, same. Wasn't as tough as I thought. North Carolina versus Houston. I can't believe we're at this stage.
In my normal bracket, I have Houston coming out. And a lot of it is exactly what you said, Zach. Like, I just think they have a really nice draw. And if you think that Illinois can get knocked off early and that they can avoid Illinois, really nice draw for them. So that's, I have them making it to the championship in reality. So obviously I'm going to do it here. But the other thing I'll mention is one interesting like bracketing tidbit that I heard a couple years back is like to always pick a team as your champion that is like, and it's kind of obvious, but like pretty high in adjusted offense and adjusted defense. And Houston's one of those teams, similar to like Michigan, that they just have a really balanced team, and they rank pretty highly in both of those areas. So decent sleeper. I've got him in my championship.
Here's the thing. I obviously don't have North Carolina in my Final Four, but if they're playing Houston in my Final Four, I'm picking the Tar Heels, bro. Like, I'm not as big on Houston as you guys are. I think they're overrated. I have North Carolina in my championship game based on the MDS bracket. I'm rolling Tar Heels, baby. Zach, come on, baby, let's do it.
I'm going Houston. Sorry, man. Sorry. I gotta go Houston. I was debating it, though. I was debating it.
Can I say something real quick, though? I meant to tee this up earlier when we were going Gonzaga, Bama. I think Gonzaga wins in a one-possession game against the number 11 seed Michigan State to make the Final Two. Just so you guys know, you heard it here first. I think Michigan State gives them a nice run for their money, and they win by like one possession. I think that's what's going to happen in the Final Four. You heard it here first. After Michigan State takes down their in-state rivals in the Elite Eight, I will always ride the Michigan State bandwagon. Just want everyone to know that. So anyway, championship game, we have Gonzaga facing Houston. I hate this so much because this is not at all what I would pick. I hate this so much.
This is horrible.
I'm very easily picking the most obvious team to pick this year with Gonzaga. I think they will be the first team in decades to win out the entire year and win the national championship without losing a single game. They have 3 of the players in the top 15 in the award show for the top. They're one of the best offensive teams. They're one of the best defensive teams. They're one of the most talented teams. They're one of the most consistent teams. They're one of the most well-coached teams. They're just teed up so well. And if you think of their side of the bracket, they've beaten the 2, 3, and 4 seeds by like a combined like 50 points this season, all within their side of the bracket. And they might not even get a true 3 or 4 seed because both the 3 and 4 are going through COVID protocols. So Gonzaga basically has like a ticket to the Final Four if they can just be even marginally consistent. So I have Gonzaga winning it all this year. I know that's boring. I know that's super duper boring, but it's so hard for me to pick against this team. This is almost like Kentucky a couple of years ago, where even though they lost to Wisconsin, it was almost like 50% of brackets picked Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Cy. Obviously, I don't have him making it here, but when it comes said and done, come Friday morning, given Michigan's situation, and like I may end up just pushing them all the way through as well. Like, it's hard to pick against them, and Cy, it is boring, but they've been that dominant. And I really like that they got pushed in their conference tournament and almost lost a game. Gave them a little scare, kind of whip them back into shape a little bit, and I could see that. And to that, I mean that West region it's pretty light, especially when you consider the circumstances of UVA and Kansas. So, although Iowa's good, so I'll take the Zags as well.
I've got Gonzaga as well. And okay, guys, so before we finish up the podcast here, who are your largest upsets? I mean, obviously mine is Abilene Christian. I firmly believe will beat Texas. Um, Ev, I know yours is Drake over USC, and then Drake beating Kansas.
Mine
Any
would,
other
mine
ones?
would probably be the UConn run, UConn to the Elite Eight.
Hmm.
So those would be some big upsets along. Well, Loyola Chicago over Illinois too. I've got some big ones there in the middle.
Ooh, I like
I'm really glad you asked this question because mine is Michigan State against literally everybody until Gonzaga. And the funniest part of this is the Michigan State and UCLA play at 9:47 p.m. On Thursday night before the tournament officially kicks off with like the round of 64 on Friday morning. And if Michigan State loses that game at midnight or like at like 1 a.m. on Thursday night, because I know for a fact I'm not waking up early to fix my bracket Friday morning since Zach and I are off and we're going to be drunk on Thursday night because that's our plan. I'm going to be
This is a PG-13 podcast.
I don't care. I'm going to be hammered. I'm going to be hammered at like 1 a.m. and I'm like, damn it, Michigan State lost. I'm going to have to go change my entire bracket.
My bracket is going to be busted in the play-in games.
My whole Final Four is going to be gone. So we're going to have to see what happens there. But right now, my upset is Michigan State against BYU, against Texas, against Bama, against Michigan, and very closely to Gonzaga. But I got Michigan State in the Final Four, guys. So we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, boys. Well, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And thank you all viewers for listening to our March Madness segment. Obviously, the madness has commenced. Hope you guys all sit down, grab some beers, grab some wings with your best friends, family. Enjoy a great spectacle of a tournament returning for the first time in 2 years. So thanks for listening as always. Hit that subscribe button. And guys, anything else before we close this out?
I wanna say two things. One, South Carolina made the Final Four in the last couple of years. I just want to remind everybody about this because it's still one of the greatest moments of my life, and I need to remind everybody during March Madness until it fades into oblivion that happened. Shout out South Carolina for that because we are just not relevant in sports right now. Our women's team, however, amazing. So go women Gamecocks. We didn't talk any women basketball, but go women Gamecocks. And the other thing I will say is a piece of professional advice for anyone filling out a bracket. Do not follow our example of what we just did. Do not have UNC playing Houston. Do not have Houston playing UNC in the Final Four. I don't think that's going to happen. Good luck, though. Best of luck to everybody on your brackets. But not even the brackets. Most of us are going to be busted in the first round. The real joy of it is the craziness of March Madness, the spectacle that it is, the wildness. We don't know what's going to happen. I hope an 11 seed wins it all. Good luck, guys. That's all I got to say. E, close us off, baby.
No, I couldn't have said it any better. That was Mondays Down South. See everybody next week for a little NFL. Later.
Peace and love.